taken the world by storm.
Name me one creative genius that doesn't have a checkered past involving alcohol
That's the medicine.
and drugs.
I think Madonna's a bad influence on you.
What?
No offense.
To see something like that what he does with his music is now being done to cinema through his music. And it's such a clever way of poking fun at the musical biopic genre. And I was wondering for both of you, knowing all of those layers are at play, do you have to take that into account when you're kind of developing your character? Or is it more helpful to just focus on it as if you're telling that real story? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, it makes sense. I think I actually was freed from the like how intense, like, because if I was to spend like months trying to absolutely recreate the real Weird Al and then do a film where I'm playing just like not him at all, really, it's a person with his name and some of his biographical details, and then it goes so crazy that for me, yeah, I wasn't so focused. In fact, the structure of the film and the fact that it was a parody of biopics, I feel like liberated me to like go even crazier and go further with my performance than I would have been otherwise, maybe.
Right, right.
I mean, like, I feel like, I don't know, at least with me, I tried to play it as straight as I could. Like, I don't know, it was like an interesting balance. Like, I wanted it to be straight because that's where a lot of the comedy is. But yeah, you have to just dial it up a few notches. But as the film goes along, it's like you turn it till it's all the way up at 11. But I remember doing some scenes with Dan where like I couldn't stop laughing because, I mean, he had like actual tears in his eyes while we were trying to do this scene at the diner. And he's got the hair and the glasses and the mustache. He's giving the most heartfelt performance. And those were always the funniest moments for me when we were like taking it as serious as we could.
I remember like just needing to give myself a second to prepare for it and simultaneously feeling like, this is ridiculous. Yeah. What are you doing?
Like we're working with real tears.
Yeah.
That kind of that's what makes it work, right? Because I think if you were making fun of it yourself, people wouldn't get into it, right?
If you're self-aware, yeah. It's I remember like, because I was talking to Eric really early on, the director, about like, what is the tone here? And he was like, it is grounded absurdism, and it only works if basically like pretty much the five leads, I guess, like Toby as my dad is slightly crazier, but like it only really works if the four like main leads just like play it absolutely for real.
Like, you believe in this, in what is happening here.
100%.
What obviously like it makes use of a lot of the music that Weird Al made, and then obviously the music that he's parodying. Did you find that immersing yourself in that kind of sonic, because so much of it is about the sound, right? That accordion is such a distinct sound, and the film is so potent with all of the sonic kind of atmosphere. Did you like, was that helpful in terms of immersing yourself in the world, or do you find that is just kind of something that comes secondary? Because obviously you got costume and the wigs and everything that all sets you into the world, but I think the sound of it is also quite potent.
Yeah, I was listening to a lot of Al at the time, obviously the songs that I'm doing in the film, but then like a lot of other stuff as well, just because I do think it's, I don't know, yeah, I think I absorb probably more through that than through like, I don't know, reading about him or something. Like I feel like you get more of a useful sense of things from that. But yeah, you must have listened to it.
Oh my God, we were constantly listening to music from the 80s, and Madonna was on all the time. When we were doing my fitting, we were just blasting the Immaculate Collection, and yeah, I think that was pretty much, that stayed true throughout the entirety of filming. I think we were always just nervous that we were going to be blasting Weird Al and then he was going to walk into the trailer.
That'd be super cool though, wouldn't it? That would be like, I'd be like,
yeah, I'd be like, well, we're making a movie about your life, not your life.
Yeah. It was also, the film was so full of like amazing cameos. It's just like everywhere you look, there's someone super interesting. And was that like was it cool in a way? I mean, obviously you guys work with celebrities and other actors all the time, but for it to be such a huge kind of swathe of people from different backgrounds.
I geek out more when it's comedians too. Maybe because I've spent so much time doing drama that when I work with comedians, I'm like, oh my God, it's Jack Black and Conan O'Brien.
Yeah, Jack Black was a big moment. That was crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I made Jack Black laugh at one point, and I was like, I can go home.
Yeah.
Wrap me. Thank you,
rest
I'm
of the
done
film.
for the day. It was, yeah, I think that what was cool about it, we obviously do work with lots of cool people, but still, like, get very excited about those people. I think what was cool about it on this was that you just got a sense of just, like, how the volume of cameos in the film is an expression of the love for Al in the like actor world and musician.
Yeah.
Al could cast this film by basically being like, "Hey, do you want to come do half a day's
Yeah.
work for me, your
Right.
childhood hero?" And everyone did.
Right,
So that was
right,
pretty
right.
cool.
Everyone was geeking out about Al.
Yeah.
Everyone that came on that set was just so happy to
Like,
be there.
yeah,
Hey,
Lily-
kitty
Sorry.
cat!
Hey, cat! Oh, what a
This
good
is-
cat!
I'm sorry. She was sitting on the kitchen counter. She jumped on the kitchen counter as soon as this started, and I was like, she's
As
not
soon
meant
as we started talking about Al.
Yeah,
That's it.
she's
She's
a
like,
fan.
oh, sorry about that.
Don't be. That's
That was
great.
lovely.
Wasting my precious time with my cat. Now I've completely lost my train of thought. Oh, I was gonna say, I think there's such an earnestness and a sweetness to Al's music that it translates into the film. In its own way, it translates into the film because he's not punching down. Or I think that's something that's so key in the music is he's not punching down at other artists. He's elevating
Yeah.
stuff in its own way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, if anything, in this film, he's punching himself. But no, I think you're right. It does. There's something so silly and delightful about his music that it does, like, it shows you something he saw in a song that was great, and it just gives you another way of enjoying it. Like,
Yeah,
it's
absolutely. Yeah, and just real quick, while I've got a minute left, Evan in particular, you mentioned doing drama, and obviously you've had such an incredible career. You can't tell, I'm a very big fan. And I was wondering that you talked about like this being sort of a comedic thing that you're not as that you haven't done as much.
Mm-hmm.
What I always find that comedy and drama, though, there is that line, right? It's such a fine line that separates that,
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, what is it about this kind of grounded absurdism that drew you into it?
Well, I think of myself more as a character actor, but I don't get asked to do it as much. I don't know. My brother and I say that, drama is, walking down the street and falling in, is walking, is like, oh God, what's the expression?
I don't know. I don't know your brother.
No, it's about drama and comedy. It's like, I just had the worst day of my life. Like, my dog got hit by a car, and that's drama. And then comedy is, I just had the worst day of my life. My dog just got hit by a car, and then I'm walking down the street and I fall into a manhole. Like, and so it's like, there's always like, it's just that one other notch. It's all rooted in reality, and a lot of the best comedians and comedies that I love are people playing it straight. Like Clue, I think, is like probably my favorite comedy, but they're all playing it straight. It's just
it's just
situationally,
insane.
just absurd. And so that's always my favorite stuff. And so I hope that this sort of opens the door for me to do more of that, because I really like doing it.